Paris, the eternal symbol of romance and prosperity. With tourism revenue reaching 23.4 billion euros last year, it seems to still hold the crown as the most powerful metropolis. These enormous figures create a perfect picture of an unshakable golden age. But right at the foot of the magnificent Eiffel Tower, a harsh truth is being concealed. Millions of people come here not just to raise their cameras, they are also anxiously holding on to their wallets. Are you willing to accept a record-breaking accommodation tax of 16 euros per night? A shocking 200% increase, only to buy yourself extreme anxiety? An expensive holiday has now been transformed into an urban survival game, where you must constantly be on guard against foul odors, financial exploitation, and professional criminal gangs who see you as easy prey. The issue is no longer whether Paris is beautiful or not. The big question is that mutilated beauty still worth the exorbitant price you pay? Today, we're going to peel back the glittering mask of the City of Lights. Are we yearning for a real city? Or are we deluding ourselves with an expensive illusion that's slowly crumbling? We must admit, Paris remains a powerful symbol of global tourism. The Eiffel Tower still proudly shines, the Louvre Museum remains open, and the Seine still flows under its ancient bridges. The aura of the past seems intact, but beneath these magnificent symbols, the tourist experience is no longer as serene as a postcard. Look at Trocadero Square at sunset. Hundreds of phones are raised, but other hands are clutching bags, passports, and wallets. Paris hasn't disappeared, but the feeling about Paris has completely changed. The question isn't whether the city is still beautiful. The question is, does that beauty still compensate for the vigilance, fatigue, and ever-increasing costs? Do we come to Paris to enjoy a dream? Or do we travel all the way there just to check if that dream is still believable? Social media has molded Paris into a perfect illusionary stage. Glittering images beneath the Eiffel Tower or poetic sidewalk cafes. Yet this cramped frame deliberately cuts out a harsh reality. Behind the lens are suffocating crowds, litter scattered on the sidewalks, the pungent smell of the old metro, and countless warning signs about pickpockets. The cruel gap between imagination and reality has transformed Paris syndrome. A psychological shock once exclusive to Japanese tourists into a global pandemic of skepticism. Look closely at a glamorous check-in photo. It never shows you how long the photographer jostled, how much money they paid, and how tense and vigilant they were to capture that moment. If a destination is only beautiful when it's cropped from reality, are we truly appreciating a real city? Or merely worshipping a color-corrected postcard? The world still hails this place as the City of Lights, but that dazzling light has been repeatedly swallowed by the darkness of decay, garbage, foul odors, and the burgeoning pressure of its infrastructure. Data doesn't lie. The culmination was the historic crack in March 2023, when over 7,600 tons of garbage accumulated, transforming the proud avenues into symbols of a paralyzed urban governance system under immense pressure. Imagine this. You step out of the metro station, gaze up at the magnificent ancient dome, but beneath your feet are piles of garbage reaching waist-high. And in that darkness, rats don't look romantic like in movies. They are a cruel testament to a city powerless to control its own density. When the harsh reality of a city begins to betray its myth, will the cloak of fame still be enough to conceal a body crumbling from within? The disillusionment doesn't just stop at what you witness. The bitterest truth lies in the dancing numbers on the bill. The 2024 financial law dealt a heavy blow by dramatically increasing the Île-de-France accommodation tax by 200%. The 2024 Olympics inadvertently became a giant magnifying glass, exposing an inflated market where romance is sold as an expensive privilege. Take a close look at the bill after a few nights' stay. Room charges, increased taxes, entrance fees, or an exorbitantly priced coffee just for a view of the Eiffel Tower. All the small amounts add up to a huge paradox. Discerning travelers never regret spending money on great experiences. But if costs keep escalating and the experience only results in exhaustion, are we paying for a real Paris or merely catering to a name that has become utterly commercialized? A true vacation should be a privilege of relaxation. But in Paris, you're forced to trade that peace for extreme defensiveness. Under the shade of the Louvre or the Eiffel Tower, tourists are unwittingly stepping into the hunting grounds of professional gangs. Thousands of passports disappear each year, quickly turning a dream vacation into a nightmare of complicated procedures. Imagine yourself in a crowded subway station. One hand clutching a suitcase, the other gripping a handbag, eyes scanning nervously, while your mind is bombarded with warnings about pickpockets. That silent unease is the most expensive surcharge that no bill ever lists. If a city forces you to be suspicious with every step, is it still selling romance, or is it simply forcing you into a harsh urban survival test? The deepest cracks in Paris are not in its grand buildings, but hidden behind wooden doors. It is suffering the ravages of Venetianization, transforming itself into a giant museum for visitors, while its true inhabitants are uprooted. Short-term stays are erasing the soul of each neighborhood. Look at the center of the Marais. Cold, automatic lockboxes hang from fences. Souvenir shops swallow up family bakeries. The clatter of suitcases on cobblestone streets now completely drowns out the rhythm of life of former neighbors. We come here yearning for authenticity. But the bitter paradox is that the very need to live like a local is stifling and pushing the locals away. Can a city retain its soul if, behind its magnificent facades, only soulless locks await visitors who come for a few nights? Paris has long been the political and labor movement center of France. Strikes and protests are nothing new. However, for tourists who travel thousands of miles to get here, their expensive vacation is inadvertently dragged into the epicenter of these unexpected events. Look up at the electronic display board at Gare du Nord station as a series of train cancellations suddenly occur. For locals, it's just another day of work disruption. But for the traveler, it's a torn-up sightseeing ticket, a missed flight, and an entire itinerary turned upside down. The crisis isn't just about the piles of strike-related trash. It's about the uncertainty that pervades every corner. A global destination doesn't just sell beautiful scenery. It also sells predictability. If every day in Paris is met with the anxious question, will anything be disrupted today? Will the romance still have enough tranquility to exist? The Paris metro has always been considered a witness to history. But for the modern traveler, that rich history is becoming a physical burden. Nostalgia is an invaluable asset if it evokes emotion, but it becomes a costly expense when it forces you to pay the price in terms of energy and discomfort. Look at an old metro station. Steep stone steps without elevators, a stifling, hot atmosphere, narrow tunnels, and a hurried stream of people pushing their suitcases. Dragging a heavy suitcase through this dark network is no longer a cultural experience, but a physically exhausting challenge, especially for the elderly or those with disabilities. A megacity cannot exist solely on the glamour of its museums. A true experience begins with the most basic things: pathways, light, and air. If the path to beauty exhausts you, will that beauty remain complete? In the experience economy, service is no longer an accessory, but the very core of the product. In Paris, the most persistent complaint from tourists often points to the aloofness and lack of communication efforts of a segment of the service industry. We must be objective. We cannot generalize about all locals. But when this criticism is repeated enough on a global scale, it officially becomes a fatal competitive flaw. Look at a crowded restaurant. You ask a question in English. The staff respond with fatigue or indifference, while the bill is exorbitant. When costs reach luxury levels, customer expectations are equally high. Just one abrupt attitude is enough to shatter the entire romantic picture. A city can easily overwhelm you with its magnificent architecture. But if it deprives you of a feeling of respect and welcome, do you have any reason to return? Paris hasn't fallen. The Eiffel Tower and the Louvre remain irreplaceable legacies. But deep down, the trust and sense of value of tourists are eroding. Look at Lisbon, Prague, or Vienna. They aren't more legendary, but they offer respect, reassurance, and genuine value. In the modern economy, a grand name is no longer enough to mask a fading experience. If Paris remains magnificent but drains your energy, should we call it an immortal symbol or a legend squandering its last pennies of patience? If you find this analysis valuable, please like and share. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notification bell to not miss the next investigative journey. Video content is based on data analysis, economic reports, and geopolitical context. The information is for informational purposes only and is not financial advice or an attack.